Hello, Kennedale. It's Jeff Navarez with the next coffee chat for the 2024 mayor election. This time, we are glad that you're here to watch this. And I have both first-time interviewees on the Kennedale News, Mayor Jan Joplin and Councilman Brad Horton. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you, Jeff? Thanks for having us.
How you doing,
Doing
Brad?
great. Thanks for having us. Doing great, Jeff.
Good. I'm excited to do this with you guys. I've known you guys for a while, so we'll just get down to nitty-gritty. For those of you who've never seen the coffee chat before, each candidate has brought some questions forward. Each candidate will answer all those questions, and then I'll throw one in at the end, and we'll give them some time at the end to kind of tell you about their platform. But for now, I'll start with Mayor Joplin to introduce herself. Why don't you introduce yourself to Kennedale?
Well, thanks again for having us. And Brad, thank you for doing this as well. Um, so I'm Jan Joplin. I've lived in Kennedale about 30 years. I've been married to my husband for 28. Together we have 4 kids, 7 grandchildren, and we still have a daughter living in Kennedale. We last year had a granddaughter that graduated from fellowship. Um, both of our boys graduated from Kennedale High School, and Kennedale has given me an opportunity for a great family life. I am a Texan. I grew up in the Dallas area, and when I met my husband, he lived in Kennedale. I had no idea where Kennedale was, but as fast as I got here, I love it, and I felt the difference immediately. And I did. I felt at home. I know it sounds cheesy, but I did. I felt at home. And my son at that time was 4 when we married. And I just focused on the family. I mean, it obviously wasn't my first marriage. So my focus was on just our marriage, our family. And I loved being here in Kennedale and giving me the opportunity to raise a family. And so I knew when I moved here that this would be my permanent place until I go to my eternal home. And so I just want to give back for the time that I'm here, with the opportunity that Kennedale has given me to raise my family. I want to do everything that I can to give back to that community that's been so good to me, and to give back to the families that live here now. And then, obviously the generations to come. If we can make it better now, be better for those generations.
I didn't know you had 4 kids, so you realize my pain.
Well, 2 were mine and 2 were his. That's how that
But
works.
still, it's 3 is good, 4 is more. Is how I say it. Brad, go ahead
Thank
and
you,
introduce
Jeff,
yourself.
and thank you, Jan. Sorry, I'm clicking on and off mute here as we go. But anyway, my name is Brad Horton, and my wife and I have lived in Kennedale almost 4 years this May. Now, this is not my first time in Kennedale. I graduated from high school here. My father was a superintendent back, I believe, 92, 93 to 2000, 2001, something like that. I graduated from high school here in 1999. And when I graduated from college, I coached and taught at the high school. And a funny story, my claim to fame is, my first year coaching and teaching, I get called into Coach Barrett's office after football practice one October afternoon. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm about to be fired. How embarrassing. And I'm notified that, long story short, I'm the low man on the totem pole, that I am going to be the first head soccer coach of Kennedale ISD. They were starting a soccer program. Now, I knew nothing about soccer, but anyway, I'll stop rambling. For about 4 days, I was the winningest soccer coach in Kennedale ISD history.
For
We won
four
our first
days.
game, 4 days, and we lost.
Excellent.
I think we lost 10 straight. And I think it's safe to say I'm now the losingest soccer coach in Kennedale ISD, but, be that as it may. So, we moved here. I've been around Kennedale, pretty much my formative years, my whole adult life. My wife and I lived in Arlington for the first 12 years of our marriage, and we wanted to be here. We wanted to raise our family here in Kennedale. So we built a home here. We moved here and love the sense of community. And, having said that, I don't know that I ever really anticipated myself being in this position or that I really ever
Mhm.
wanted to. I feel like it's just something that kind of happened,
Mhm.
first time with
Yes.
the council. But, closing my opening statement, I do want to thank Jan Joplin for her service to our city, our great citizens. I think It's been what, close to a decade that you've been involved in serving. So, I think that's certainly something to be commendable and commended, and certainly I applaud you for that. So
Thank you, Brad.
thank you, Jeff.
All right, thank you guys. All right, let's just hop right in here because I know you guys have a timetable. The first question was from Miss Joplin, and it's for you, Brad. We'll get you to start this off. It's why do you think Kennedale's tax rate is number 3 in Tarrant County this year, and do you see this as permanent?
Thank you, Jeff. Make sure I'm on off mute. Thank you, Jeff. Great question, Jan. And, first let me say, and, when I voted against our budget, I would say that I do acknowledge that we had major infrastructure expenditures that we had to address this year. And I don't think anybody denies that. A major portion of that, I believe could be more easily controlled over, with more oversight over the spending and budget process. And I say this having probably prepared hundreds of budgets in the course of my career. And to be honest with you, I prepared so many budgets, I would be happy. I could live a fulfilled life if I ever had to do another one. But nonetheless, we did have a lot of infrastructure expenditures, a lot of critical issues that did have to be addressed. Additionally, I think that, we don't have enough sales tax from our businesses, enough property tax from businesses to offset the tax burden off of our citizens. And, I think one thing, that I hear around is that the environment is not necessarily conducive to business growth. I think, we could maybe eliminate some red tape for would-be businesses, for business owners, to make it easier for them to thrive. And, I think those are all things that we could do to lower our property tax rate. And I think if we continue to use our citizens to, simply go with residential growth, then, that could be something that's permanent, but I don't think it is permanent. I think we can reverse trend. In fact, when I first joined the council, we had reduced, we dropped, I think we were the seventh, we dropped down to the seventh highest property tax rate in Tarrant County. And I think we're moving in the right direction, and we've done so before. And I think we can certainly do so again. So thank you.
All right, Jan?
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with Brad with the eliminating the red tape. I actually was at a TML dinner. Was that last night? Not before last. Anyway,
That was
whatever it was.
Wednesday.
And someone, the days just roll from one day to another. And someone mentioned, one of the mayors mentioned that one of the things that they've been able to do is fast track. That was the word that was used, is to fast track some businesses. And so I thought that was interesting to see, maybe dive into that and see what that looks like and see how we could do it. And I also agree with Brad. I mean, you were there with me when we were working on this budget. And so you and I both know the biggest part of this is that infrastructure bond that went in place. Without that bond, the tax rate would have definitely been lower. But so I agree. I don't think it's going to be permanent. I think once we can get a handle on the infrastructure, the reason it is what it is because of our infrastructure that's been neglected. And once we can get a handle on that, which the $17 million bond, that's a big part of the sewer and the water tanks that have been needing to be repaired for years. Once we can get a handle on that, then and bring additional businesses in. And I have been excited to see new businesses coming in. Mm-hmm. And excited to be here and have chosen Kennedale to be here. So I agree that we do need businesses to offset the citizens carrying all this. We need the balance there. And I think right now, what do you think we're at, Brad, on the taxes? We're probably at maybe a 75-25 with the citizens carrying the majority of the burden. And we really need to get it, we need to work on that. Wherever it gets to, we need to work on it being the other way. I think we would both agree on that. And then just wrapping our arms around the businesses that we have to help them, to see what resources we can bring to them to help them to increase their taxes as well. So the reason I think that Kennedale is number 3 is because of the infrastructure that's been ignored for so long. That's why we're sitting at number 3 right now. And that is something that, balancing that with our salaries were lower than they needed to be. So we were coming up from adjusting salaries, bringing all of our equipment up, the fire, police, which obviously that's super important. That's the city's biggest responsibility, along with the water and the sewer. That's a responsibility. Our streets will be next. but in every single area, every single department, every area that you looked at in Kennedale needed to be addressed, from softwares to software systems. And that'll be addressed next year as well. But every area, and you can't do everything at one time. You just can't. When everything needs to be done, it can't be addressed all at one time. So last year we were able to address the bond and get the sewer and the water, that bond for those two big pieces. And then continuing to look at other areas where we can reduce it. And I do think that it will be going down. That's the goal, is for it to be going down and not remaining this high, but we have to be able to balance that.
I think you both hit the nail on the head with the red carpet for businesses. One of the biggest complaints I've gotten over the years is, even before I was on council, is how hard it was to come here to do business in Kennedale. So I think you both heard me before, like, we need to make it easy for businesses to come in and be a little bit more tougher on the businesses that are here to tighten up, kind of the laziness over the years. So I think you both spot on for that one for sure. We'll go to the next question. So this is Brad for Mayor Joplin. Do you believe there was any waste and or redundant spending in the 2024 budget? Why or why not?
That's a really good question, Brad. All your questions are good. Of course, with your background, I wouldn't expect anything less. And I would have to say, because of knowing in every department are so compartmentalized, and they're not connected together, that there probably is redundancy, definitely. And that's something that we'll be addressing coming into this next budget year, is connecting them more. So I can't help but think, yes, there is, definitely. To the amount of percentage, I couldn't give a percentage, but could I agree that there is? Absolutely. So I don't have a percentage for you. I would say yes, there definitely is, and that we're going to be addressing it. And the reason why is just because they didn't have the system in place and haven't had for years. I think it was our community development that they weren't even using the software that had been in place. And whenever the former community development manager left, she actually took the software with her and wiped the systems clean. So they actually started from scratch. And then the same thing in another department in Bertha's area, with the court system, same things. Nothing was even being done there. So when you're starting from such a negative position, definitely there's going to be some redundancies until we can get them to where they need to be, and then address the system where we can connect them all. Absolutely.
Okay, Brad. For those of you who don't know, Brad is a math nerd. He worked for the IRS and not consults for them. So that's why we're teasing him about.
Yeah, Brad may have the percentage here.
He's more math than I am.
I would argue that I'm terrible at math, and I've taught college accounting for years, and my students laugh when I say that. And then when I start working accounting problems on the board, they're like, "Hey, you can't even add 3." I'm terrible at math. I think accounting is more of a science or an art, if you will. So I have to use a calculator. So anyway, I do believe there was waste and redundant spending in the current budget, and that's ultimately why I voted against it. And again, saying that I do agree that there were needs that needed to be met. I think, like the mayor mentioned, the community development budget increased by roughly 38%. And I think the library increased by roughly 40% for 110,000. Our street maintenance fund, which I think we could all agree needs all that it can get, increased 37%. Another thing is our ARPA, the COVID money. We had roughly $1.9 million that was supposed to be spent prior to 12/31/23, if memory serves. And that's money that is not coming back. And I know that there may be some disagreements with me on this, but we had the fire department brush truck, roughly, I believe, 150,000 in the 2022 budget. And then we budgeted 168,000 in the current year budget. Now, by my math, I think we should have budgeted 18,000. I say this because, I know the money was there, but if I bought, Rangers tickets in February for opening day and budgeted $200 in my February budget, and then March I find out they're 250, then I'm going to budget an additional 50 for those, not 250. And, like we mentioned, the department heads, an 8% increase across the board. Now, I don't want our city employees to think that I'm against them, but that's a big increase, especially for those that maybe not have been here even a year. And perhaps, maybe we could have based it more on, had some money to play with, base it more on longevity or performance based, something along those lines. And I do believe we probably could have made do with another vehicle or two for the current year before we added some more. And I still think there potentially was some, I don't know if double dipping is the right word, of employees at the library, but you have a salary increase. If that's so, there was 150,000 that I couldn't reconcile in the library budget, and I think that could ultimately save us right there. And then in essence, for every $130,000 we take out of that budget, that would reduce our tax rate by 1 cent.
That's right.
And I looked through these numbers I just went up. You're looking at 300, 400,000, and I think that could have reduced us maybe 2 to 3 cents ultimately. And I realize that's largely symbolic, but it continues that step in the right direction. And again, this is just what I remember from low hanging fruit. I don't actually have the budget on me. And this is kind of the low hanging fruit. I think if we looked more, we did more of an efficiency type of audit, we could have probably identified more areas to streamline, identify more, and possibly reduce that a little more. But sorry if I got a little too technical for everybody. That's, like Jeff said, that's how my brain works.
That's
So
fine.
Can I just say a couple of things with that?
Sure.
And you're spot on, Brad, and that's why you were so valuable on council in your position. You were absolutely so valuable, is because exactly what you just brought just then is you brought that to council, and it's very much appreciated and missed. But a couple of things with the directors on the 8%. The year before, they didn't get an increase because they had not had a year yet. So this was actually their at 8% that they were all had been there for a year. And then the brush truck, the way that works is on the budget, if it's not purchased, very similar to what's happening right now, the brush truck still it's out there. I mean, it's will probably be rolled into this next budget again because we didn't spend the money. It was budgeted, but the money wasn't spent. So that's why it rolls. It's not like you were mentioning the baseball tickets where you actually bought them. Well, it was budgeted, but it wasn't bought. So that's why it would roll as a whole again to the next budget year. So just on that piece. But I certainly agree. Every place that we can go into low hanging fruits and look at, it's important.
Go ahead, Brad. You look like you wanted to comment.
Oh, well, and that's not how any budget I've ever done is work, respectfully. It's, you budget it
But
there,
it's a
not say
city.
it's spent.
Yeah.
And I've done city finances before as well, and they've not done it this way. And I didn't say I purchased the Ranger tickets. I said I budgeted for them, then waited and purchased them there with the extra 50. So just to clarify my remarks. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue with budgets, especially for the average citizen, is that they think about their budgets, right? And it's just so you have to look at it like a multinational corporation kind of approach to it. And there's laws that govern it, and this you pull string here, it's gonna blow up over there. And then when it comes to budget season, of course, the city manager goes to their directors and say, "Hey, ask for the moon and hope for the best," right? And so
Yeah.
they come with us with everything, and not everybody got what they wanted. And I think that's the delicate balance between it, is just the understanding that it's more complicated than just your checking and your saving account, and there's laws that govern it. All right, let's go to the next question. That was good discussion.
Yeah.
We're on number 3. Jan to Brad. I'm gonna kind of twist this for you, Jan, and make it more general. Mayors don't have a vote unless there's a tie. This gives council members full voting power. As a mayor, what is your role and responsibilities? That's for you, Brad. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Well, the office of mayor is elected to be the head of the Kennedale city government, and provides leadership. And yes, in the case of a tie, the mayor casts and has cast important votes. I remember my very first council meeting, I didn't vote on an issue because I wasn't well versed in it. I didn't feel I was well versed enough on it. I can't remember which one it was, but I know the mayor had to vote on that. Sorry to put you in that spot. But yes, the mayor doesn't vote unless there is a tie. The mayor also has veto power. And, as head of the city government, the mayor and the city council meet frequently. And, I would argue it's probably the most powerful elected office in the city. I think, the charter spells that out. And, while there's not a vote, unless there's a tie, the mayor does have a major potential for oversight, a major potential. I know that, at Kennedale and other cities that I've, worked with in the past, the mayor and city council or mayor and city manager meet frequently, and there's tremendous oversight opportunity. And I think the mayor certainly can take credit when things go well, because being the head of the government, and also that face responsibility when things aren't going so well here.
There
So,
too, right?
that's how I view the office, and that's how I would approach it certainly as well. So thank you.
Jim?
Yeah, I agree. As head of the city government and also part of the executive team in emergency plan, if an emergency happens, you're part of that emergency team.
Absolutely.
Um,
In charge of FEMA, by the way.
yeah, and I would think a big part of what I do is a facilitator, facilitating to the council, facilitating the meetings. And a big part of that is the relationships that I have with the council in order to facilitate the meetings, is the relationship with them, with the relationship with the city manager, the staff, relationships with other mayors, city managers, Tarrant County, transportation leaders, Senate and House, just people, networking in general, those relationships, and meeting these people and finding out what else is out there, what we can bring back to Kennedale, because Brad, as you know, we certainly need it. We need any additional funding that we can get. We don't have to recreate the wheel. We just have to find someone that's created it and maybe has a pocket that knows a way to get some funding, whether it's through grant, what's coming down legislatively. So those are really important. That's what I found. I wasn't really sure. I've only been mayor for a year, and I was appointed after our mayor resigned. And I took the position because of the relationship with the council. And they supported me in being the mayor and that was very important to me. I don't think I would have taken it if I didn't have support from the council. So that's a super important part, is the relationships with the council and but as what I was going to say, sorry, I got off track, is I wasn't really sure what the role was. I just knew that for me, I saw Brian Johnson, what Brian Johnson did, and then, the other mayors that come along, what they had done. And I knew that in taking this, it was a big responsibility. But for me, the reason I was hesitant, honestly, is because I lost my vote. As a council person, I lost my vote. And that was big for me. But knowing that I had, at the time when I took the position, I had Rocky Gilley coming on council and you, Brad, coming on to fill those spots. It gave me the confidence, to step in as mayor. But I've learned a lot. And one of the big things I have learned is the relationship building with the other entities, but especially with our council. And what you said, Brad, earlier about the relationship with the city manager, that's also very important, is working with him and helping them to facilitate the projects and getting all that information to council as well, so they have all the information that they need to make these big decisions. So that's what I feel like my role and responsibilities, and it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I think the power of the mayorship is not because they have a vote. Because when you get five of us, you have five, we both know we have five different personalities and different ideas of how to get there. And hopefully we can hammer it out and meet in the middle. But that's hard to do. If I want to do it my way, that's one vote. I still got to get two other votes. And the power of the mayorship is to, be there and be neutral and guide everybody so we can have the conversation. And I think that's where the power is, because in the end, it's your vision and you're curving 4 people or 5 people's vote to get what's best for the city. And
as a whole.
I think that's where the power of the mayorship really comes down to. And the connections, like you were talking about, representing Kennedale and Tarrant County or the state or federal government sometimes, depending on what's going on. All right, so we'll move on to number 4. Getting there, guys. We're good on time. We were talking about time earlier. Good. All right. This is for Mayor Joplin. Do you believe it would be It would benefit the citizens of the city to have published project plans with milestones, goals, and budgets to measure progress or lack of progress against. In essence, also letting the citizens know when there will be delays or if something goes wrong, why or why not.
100%. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And we're moving in that direction. If you go again, when everything needs to be done at one time, you just can't. You can't do everything at one time. There's a cost to this, but it absolutely it's on my wish list or it's on my to-do list and has been for a while since I came on board actually in 2017. But if you go on the city website now, cityofkennedale.com, and just move down, you don't have to go to the tabs at the top, just move down. There's actually an easy button for city projects. So that's the first step. And you can go on there, take a look at it. It has the projects where the funding is coming from for those projects and what our part of the project is. And again, that's a work in progress. That was only put up there at the beginning of this year. So you can see we're making progress moving in that direction. But absolutely, this is a citizen's money, 100%. They should know where the money's coming from. Was it a bond? Was it a grant? How much is our part? How much is the bond part or the grant part? And to your point, Brad, that's important is what's the time frame? Because some of these projects, you think they're going to happen. Like we had a project that was supposed to happen in November and it got pulled, not because of us, but it got pulled. So it's just on tentative hold, and nothing we can do, or we're just waiting. We're just waiting, but and it happens. It's just one of the things that I've learned. The big difference between government and corporate is government is slow. Things don't happen like they do in the corporate world.
Absolutely.
And the corporate world is, you have a plan, this is it, and you make it happen. And that's not what you see here at all. But I absolutely agree with that. And it's something that's important. And something we're working towards. As a matter of fact, you can already see the first step out on the city website.
Hey, Brad.
So yes, to answer my own question, yes, I do. I think it would go a long way in helping citizens see where their tax dollars are going and when milestones are met. This is something I've done at other organizations. It's relatively easy to do. You put up, I don't know the technical term necessarily, but basically a dashboard on your website. You update maybe once a week, and it takes minimal time. And this is obviously under the caveat, of course, that these things are fluid and they're would be updated with good and bad news. And I do think it would be a sign where I've done this before, not a city, but other charitable organizations that I've done financials for. I think it'd be a sign of goodwill with in that case their donors or people making sure, or in this case our taxpayers. It helps citizens, I believe, feel like they have a say and what happens, and it helped keep them informed. And I think, to be honest, it probably cut down on a lot of complaints. So when's this street going to be fixed? When's that street going to be fixed? And I think when I think successful organizations that people turn their money over to, they have clear project plans, timely updates, goals, and clearly defined results. And then consequences when those are not achieved. And it's putting yourself out there, and it's an additional layer of transparency. But I think at the same time, I think that's something we want to do, and I think it would give people a greater say, feel like they have a greater say in their tax dollars. So yes,
agree. Yep, agree
The street that's
100%.
being installed over in your neighborhood, Brad. That's the first time I've seen the sign that says this is what we're doing. It has Jan's name on it, and this is the project and how much it's spent. Like, we've never done that before in my memory, and I always thought that how Arlington does a really good job of doing that. This is from the water bond, and it's very clear sign when you drive by. But besides the website, what's one of the way that we can do that for the citizens? I'll start with you, Brad.
Well, without a website, I know there's a city newsletter. I think, you can post stuff on social media, and I know the city does do that. But then, the complaints that I've gotten before is, well, I didn't see it,
Yeah,
or
that's Facebook.
whatever. And I think that way it puts the onus back on them. Okay, well,
Yeah.
here you can come see right here in your own power, and that way, there's no excuse. Sorry.
Yeah. Jan, do you have another way that maybe we can possibly do that to get the information?
No, I mean, I think that I agree. We definitely, the citizens, if they want to see it, it's there now. I mean, at least the first step of it is there. So I'm thankful for that. And then the same with the newsletters, we're putting the newsletters out so we can, we're putting all the information, projects are in the newsletter as well. And then anyone that wants to subscribe to that, it's another easy button. You don't have to go look to see where to subscribe. It says subscribe to newsletter. And then it puts the onus on the citizens. I was at a meeting recently and someone said, well, I didn't know about the town center car show on Saturday. And then, well, do you get the newsletter? Yes. Do you read it? I guess not, so, but I think we're definitely taking steps. I remember when I first got on council in 2017, one of the very first meetings that me and Rocky Gilly and Sandra Lee sat in was about how do we communicate information to the citizens. And even then, all the council that were in place that had been for years, they were saying then that's the most difficult task that they have is how to get information to the citizens. So I think it'll be a conversation that we'll always have, but if we can keep improving, like adding this or adding that, we're on multiple social media platforms now, and then adding the button on the city website to make that easy to go to for the projects. So we're moving in that direction, is getting the information, but I absolutely agree it's important to have that out there. And even more so, right now, the information that you'll see on that button, it's very basic. And so that's a work in progress as well. That'll continue to evolve. But it's a start.
How good things. I mean, and maybe one day, I'm not saying next year or 5 years, but maybe 10 years when an app, I know Arlington does that. They update their
Oh, that'd be amazing.
like that through an
That
app.
would be
And then
amazing.
people can report, violations to the app. And so it's out there. Maybe one day we can afford that. But
That
I
would be
mean, I have to
amazing.
do it one day anyways, because the world's doing it. All right, Brad.
Put that on our list.
Yeah, put it on the long list.
Right.
What are your accomplishments and what are your future projects for you, Brad?
Well, am I okay? All right. Sorry. Make sure I'm on not muted. So, I think my accomplishments, one of the things that I would mention, and I don't think a lot of people knew about, was basically October of 2022 to 2023, the city was having financial reporting problems. And this was caused by, I believe, before I was on, the departure of the finance director at the time. I would say our books were in a mess, weren't getting budget numbers or financial statements. We even had negative balances and asset accounts, and I was able to put the city in contact with the right people to resolve the issue. And I believe that added a lot of stability, especially when you're a steward dealing with taxpayer money. And, I think it's important to have somebody with an accounting and fiscal planning background. And, I'm proud to, also have supported the multifamily moratorium that gave the council time, in essence, to modify the zoning requirements and expand and repair infrastructure to protect the safety and quality of life in the city. And, in terms of the future, definitely want to make Kennedale a business-friendly environment. We just had 3 businesses close recently. And, that's not okay. That's not acceptable. And I believe we can do better. And, one of the reasons, a lot of times businesses struggle is when they rent, well, the property tax rate are passed on from the landlords to these businesses. So what can we do and, to help businesses? A lot of times it's, eliminate that infamous bureaucratic red tape. But, what can we do to make the current businesses we have successful? What can we do to draw quality businesses in here? And, I'd argue that we're a niche city. We need places. And I use the example of Sutai Distillery. And I don't know if anybody has been there, but it's the only place here in the United States you can get that particular kind of, I don't know, the alcohol.
Whiskey.
It's whiskey. It's
certainly, and it's a beautiful
Vietnamese
place.
whiskey.
If you've not been there, I mean, it'd be perfect for like a reception or something like that too. But, what can we do to draw more businesses like that? And, I've gotten a chance to meet these 2 great entrepreneurs, and they're here because Arlington and Mansfield didn't want them. So, certainly, it's, I think there's a market for that. And, additionally, obviously have a wise use of our tax dollars going forward, make certain that the considerable money we take from the people is spent for their benefit, spent wisely. Also continue to partner with Precinct 2 and other outside entities in order to, like I think Jan referenced, I don't think she mentioned specifically, but one of the projects she mentioned was basically an interlocal agreement. And for our citizens that don't know that, what happens is, in essence, we split the cost, if you will, with the county. They provide goods and materials, we provide workers. I know that may be backwards, but in essence, continue to do that. That helps us get the most bang for our buck for our tax dollars.
100%.
And I think that's something that certainly needs to be continued and pursued even more vigorously.
Yeah.
So those are my big plans for the future.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. All good. Just a couple of things on, I was so thankful to have you on council during that accounting, because we had a finance director that left, and we were getting numbers that we knew were inaccurate. And so we brought it to the city manager, and I was very thankful to have you on council at the time, Brad, to be able to tap into what this was your wheelhouse, and thankfully it was data issues that were recovered, but you were able to put someone immediately in touch with us that was able to dive into that quickly and find out what exactly the issues were and to resolve that for us. And so thank you for that. Thank you for that. But I did want to ask you, the three businesses that left: Simple Simon, Daiquiri Domain, what's the other one?
The bookstore.
Bookstore.
Yeah, Infinity.
Oh, the bookstore. Okay. So Simple Simon, yeah, because I'm still following her, and we can still support her, but yeah. Okay. So sometimes businesses are kind of going to come in that don't have, and I don't know, I'm not saying, I'm not going to say for these three, but I'm thinking about something right now that I heard about. Sometimes people come in and we don't know what their business plan is. We don't know what their business plan is. We don't know, what their, we can support them. And we have support. We don't know what their marketing plan is. We don't know what they're going to do to support their own business. But I think Kennedale for sure supported Simple Simon in a big way. I mean, the chamber, the city, the citizens. So I'm not quite sure exactly. And I know they were owned by the same people. Simple Simon and Daiquiri Domain were owned by the same people. So I think if there was a struggle there, it one affected the other. And I'm not really sure. I don't know, but I do see Kennedale supporting businesses like I've never seen them supporting businesses before. I do see a difference there. And I'm thankful for that, because I've seen times where, we were trying to run businesses out of town, and you don't see that anymore. But you do see people were involved. We want people to come in. I know when I go visit the businesses, I like tag myself and promote them. Kennedale's an interesting little city because so many people shop outside rather than inside. And I know when Kennedale News or someone made the announcement that Simple Simon had closed, I saw people say, "Oh, I didn't even know we had a pizza place there." I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get it. So, so I just wanted to address those things. But as far as the question on the accomplishments, I don't know how far back, when I came on board in 2017, we had a laundry list of basically of projects, and I'm not going to read them all. I'll just show you. There was just a laundry list of bullet points that we wanted to address when we came on in 2017. And I came on together with Rocky Gilly and Sandra Lee. It wasn't just one person, there were three of us. And we have specific items that were important to us. And for the most part, I would say there's still a couple of them that are a work in progress. But for the most part, this list was accomplished. Then when I got back on council in 2021, there's another laundry list of to-dos. And again, I'm not going to read it just for the sake of our time, but It's everything from the chamber, the capital improvement plan, the EDC, charter updates, hiring a manager. I mean, when I came on in 2021, that was a big thing, hiring a manager, which took us a year to do. So Daryl's only been with us a year and a half. The charter updates, reviewing third-party contracts, farmers market. I mean, zoning, all the zoning updates. And Brad, you were a big part of that. So you're, aware the whole UDC, all of that needed to be codified. None of that had been done. So, which means taking our codes and bringing them up to where you can actually go in and look at them. Safe walks to school. It's my understanding our city manager met with them again. That's been in the works, I think, since 2016 or some crazy number. But it's TxDOT. It's not like we're sitting around not doing our part. We're waiting for TxDOT. But Daryl met with them this morning. We'll get an update from him. But it's my understanding. We always say what we know, but you never know what TxDOT's going to do. The bonds, the detail, we now have a bond spreadsheet where we can actually see where the bonds, all the different bonds and what was spent. I mean, that we didn't even have that before. When I came on council, I went and asked for, can you tell me where this bond was spent? No, there wasn't a detailed list, but we have that now. But that we had to put that together. And Debbie Reed was a big part of that you brought to us, Brad. So thank you for her. The park dedication fund. Now we actually have a fund that has money in it that we can use for our park playgrounds that you see. And we're working on the park board is continuing to work on that, the improvements, because there's still improvements, obviously. The ARPA funds, the Arlington contract, M&O, and the water. The boards all need to be reviewed and trained, all of our boards, and where council is working together and our boards understand what's expected of them, communicating with the council, with the citizen, the emergency plan, reviewing that and updating that, because what happened during the ice storm, I don't ever want that to happen again, and we've done that. The TERS, reviewing the financials on the TERS, that's all been, so that was something I absolutely brought to the table. That's all been paid back. Because before there was money that was borrowed that was not going to be paid back. And that's all been paid back since. We still have town halls. We had one town hall with the train situation that was stopping, addressing the homeless camps, city manager updating city council meetings. That's something we always asked before. And we never could get that done. And now you see our city manager giving updates every meeting. We even had each director that gave a complete update on their department, which we hadn't had before. Working with KISD better, and you see that now. They're on our boards, or they're meeting with us in meetings, and which is, the city and the school should work together. We are one team for Kennedale. SOPs in every department, those didn't exist. Our image and branding need to be, we needed to redo that. Water rate study, because we haven't had we actually lowered the water rates. When I came on council in 2017, the water rates were lowered twice. So since 2018, there has not been a study or an increase since 2018. So there has been a study. There will be an increase. I'm just saying that right out loud during election season. Normally with utilities, there's about a 4% every year, and we haven't had one since 2018. But we are working to, obviously, we want to get that down as low as possible to make that manageable. But that's coming. And then just to Brad's point earlier, just unbudgeted items, it just impacts the reserves. We need to have our arms around that and make sure that we know where the funds are coming from, and to even have an emergency fund. When I got on in 2017, the reserves, there was hardly any reserves at all. And the EDC had no money. The EDC actually borrowed money to go renovate a building. Well, now the EDC has over $2 million in it and is actually doing what the EDC is meant to do, which I'm proud to have been a part of that, even though I don't sit on the board. It was an important part of my list of things to do when I got back on. We were able to, the community events, you've seen those just bloom. We're having Saturday, as I mentioned, where there's going to be a car show. So come out. I think that's what, 12 to 3, Jeff?
Yes.
Like that. And there's so many community events. And there's
Rain or
also at
shine,
2
by the way.
o'clock if you want to plant your garden, learn how to plant a garden at 2 o'clock. Kim Courtney's going to be doing that. So there are some things on the list that we still are yet to do. Like we mentioned earlier, it is important for the citizens to know where their money's going and to have that on the website as a dashboard of some sort. Brad, I agree with you. That is important. And then as far as future projects, I think we continue doing exactly what we're doing. And the next big thing is the citizens did approve $3 million for a park bond for us to use that. So that's what council's working on now, is what we do with that and what I'd really like to do. So that's a goal, is, how we use that to bring a sports complex of some sort to Kennedale, a field for our kids to play on. It's so important. And to do that very wisely, there's a possibility of us getting some extra land. So we're just waiting to see how that works out, partnering with some other people in that. And then also partnering with people for the funding, so that's not just our money. We could partner with other people and have additional funds and then do that in phases. So that's a big one. Our comprehensive plan needed to be redone. That's a huge one. Hopefully, I think we're on track 2024 to finalize that. So we've done a lot. It's a big breath, and it doesn't seem like it stops. It seems like there's always, the next thing that we're working on. Actually, April 1st, I believe, you can join us if you'd like, because for the comprehensive plan, the steering committee and council will be working together, having a joint work session. So you're welcome to join us to sit in on that. I'm sure you'd want to. I believe that's at 6 o'clock. I'm not sure off the top of my head,
So,
but
yeah.
that's normally where things are. But just continuing to work on all those little things, and that's what I think is important, and that'll be future projects. Oh, and the farmers market's coming the 20th of April as well. That's another one that we'll be bringing back. So
That's when they do the downtown.
just good things, just continuing to bring good things and do the next right thing.
Just so you're aware that April 20th is also the Downtown Art Festival in Fort Worth. So we're gonna be competing.
Oh, wow.
So show up to
Okay.
both, everybody.
Oh, okay.
But one thing I say
I
in
didn't
my
know that.
industry to my clients, who come and hire me for marketing is I can only promise leads. I can't promise sales. And the reason why is because I'm not responsible for your management style, your business plan, as you put it, Ms. Joplin.
Mhm.
I don't know if your product is crap or you're rude to customers. So I'm not responsible for your sales. I'm only responsible for bringing you traffic to your website. And when it came down to, I mean, all three of those businesses in a bookstore, I mean, we try to get the word out for them. And
Mhm.
some people showed up, but how often have you bought a book in the last year? And then the pizza place we love Simple Simons, we love their owners.
Mhm.
But they had a foreclosure on their door because they never paid their franchise fees. So I don't know why. I mean, usually those are paid up front before you pay your employees and all that stuff. So I don't understand what happened there. And the daiquiri place, and I told them this when they opened it. We were one of the first ones there. I said, daiquiri in October, you're gonna open a daiquiri place before winter. It's a little risky, and I told him my concern about that because it's cold around here in the winter.
Mhm.
So you just never know, like you said, the business plans. But I think to sum up from what we were talking about earlier, but if we continue to roll the red carpet out to get new business and get known out there as a fun and safe place to do business, I think you'll find that you'll get more businesses and more people purchasing here. All right, so we'll move on to number 6. We're almost there, guys. I know we're getting close.
Yeah, how are we doing on time?
We're about an hour, so I'll knock off my question. We'll do this
12:55, Brad.
Yeah, we're doing good. For Ms. Joplin, do you believe it would be beneficial for the city to publish a cost-efficient analysis of major residential and commercial development as well as major city projects? Why or why not?
Yes. I mean, to me, that's a very obvious one. Yes, and I would like to see that. I would definitely like to see that. Um, it's a great question. It's a great question. It's a question that I've asked from the very beginning. And I would like to sit down with our city manager and our finance director as we go through these projects and look at them from that perspective. I don't know. I don't know why it hasn't been done in the past. I can't answer that. I can only speak to what we do going forward. Um, but I see things happen, and I wish they wouldn't. I don't have a vote. There's 5 people on council, and it takes 3 to approve something. And sometimes you hear information, you get the information that you have, and you make the best decision based on the information that you have. And sometimes you have the financial information, the financial pieces. Um, Sometimes you don't know all the financial pieces, quite honestly, until after the project has been voted for. You don't have all the pieces at the time where you're voting on it. I can think of something very recently that happened that, all the pieces aren't there. So I absolutely agree with this, and I'm going to put this on my list as something that, as we look at things, to look at this through that lens. And thank you for the question, Brad.
Brett?
All right, now my own question. Yes,
Yes.
it is something that I do believe we should.
Don't you love that?
I do. Sorry for the confusion yesterday. I was trying to clarify.
Oh, me too. Same
my
thing.
question. Okay. I watched the previous coffee. It just didn't dawn on me. That's kind of how it's going. So
Sure.
sorry for the confusion. So anyway, yes, and with our property tax rate, I think, we've grown residentially 20 to 30% roughly over the past few years, right? And, something like this, I think would help us, we want to start a housing project. Let's identify, how much it's going to bring in revenue, how much is this going to cost in city services, infrastructure. You're going to have to add additional city employees, additional first responders, et cetera. And obviously this would be fluid. It would have to be updated because you're dealing with, when you're dealing with something like this, you're dealing with changing numbers. But I think it would help better decision making. And, I think it's something that a lot of successful organizations do. I've seen it done. I've helped do it. And, it might help answer, well, we expected our revenue to be this much. Why is it not where we thought it was? And I think, that can lead to disconnects, obviously. And, I think maybe in the case of recent years with, I think we might have, and I say we as a city, what have you, I think we might have expected revenue from residential growth to be greater than it was. And, in the case of commercial development, that also gives that metric. What's this going to do for us financially wise? How much is it going to cost us, et cetera? Will it help bring additional business potentially? And I think this is just something that would add additional transparency. It would help us as a city to better plan. It would help the council, boards, EDC, you name it, make better decisions. And again, under the caveat that it is fluid and it would need to be updated, as new information comes in. So yes, to my question.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Well, we're doing really good on time. What I'll do for the interest of time, since we get really close, is I'll take my last question, but I'll have you guys incorporate it in your conclusions. So the question is, how have you served Kennedale and why? And Brad, go ahead and do your conclusion.
Okay. Well, how have I served Kennedale? Well, I would say the first act of service, I guess debatable, but the first thing I did was I served as a teacher and a coach for Kennedale ISD for 2 years. And, I obviously told you all for my claim to fame, the winningest soccer coach for 4 days, maybe 3 or 5, I can't remember. But nonetheless, that was a great job getting to work at Kennedale ISD and, obviously be part of one of the best high school football programs in the state of Texas. That was truly phenomenal. And the lessons I learned there, I still think about some of the things that I've learned about leadership I learned in my time there. And as I've gone throughout my career, throughout my life, I've learned so much from here. And additionally, I served, I think I'm still on the PTO for RF Patterson. I served Kennedale ISD on the 2022 and 2023 DEIC. I'm also on the RF Patterson site-based decision-making committee, on the Kennedale Junior High site-based decision-making committee, and I've served on the city council. And I have also, in transitioning to my closing statement, we moved our family back here because this community is a special place. My wife grew up in a small town, And, it just has that sense of community. And my father was in public education. So we moved some growing up, and we weren't like every year. But, the thing that struck me when we first moved to Kennedale is it was home. And,
Mhm.
it's always been home. Or no matter where I've gone in the world, I've lived all over, I've traveled all over, it's always had that sense of community. And it's because of
Mhm.
the people. And I think outside of my family, the people that have had the greatest impact on my life have been people from here. And
Mhm.
we love this community. And I would also add that it's I'm got four generations of my family that have been
Mhm.
associated with the city or Kennedale ISD. My grandfather was principal at the junior high, and he actually drove a school bus too. Can you imagine a principal driving a school bus now? Um,
Yeah.
my grandmother, I believe, was
I
Bus
could see
drivers
Cagle doing it.
wanted.
Honestly, I could see Cagle doing it.
my grandmother served as a secretary for the ISD. My dad is the superintendent. I've coached here. My wife teaches here, and my
Mhm.
kids are in school at Kennedale ISD. So I would tell our readers that obviously I think everybody here loves the city, but that's what I would bring to the table. I'm somebody that loves, and I would come to work as mayor every day with obviously with your best interest in mind, wanting to serve
Mhm.
you. That's probably a pretty good place to stop.
All right, and then mention where people can get in contact with you or see more of your platform.
Sure. I've got a website coming up. I'll post it out there. And I've got a Facebook page, Brad Horton for Kennedale Mayor. This is the name of the Facebook page, and I'll post a link to the website when it's completed.
All right. Mayor Joplin, you get the last say.
So, how have you served Kennedale and why? We'll start there. So I started actually, so like I mentioned, I moved here about 28 years ago. And my husband actually grew up here on Bowles Court, and um, then has lived here, and we've had kids that have lived here. Um, and so I started when Jackson was in school. I was able to retire early, and I became involved. He was a theater student, so I became involved with the Fine Arts Booster Club and supported the theater students and worked with the Gloviers and all the different theater students at the time, and was president of the Booster Club. And I noticed then that it was very, very difficult to get people involved. It was very difficult to get parents to help us with different things. And I think we still see that, now with getting people involved as well. But so that's where I started, was with the Fine Arts Booster Club as far as serving Kennedale. But I do want to say that Kennedale has certainly served me great and my family, and I'm very thankful for that. And that was the main reason why, is because Kennedale has given me that opportunity to raise a family here. Um, I love Kennedale. I think you see that in everything I do and say. And you see me walk. I walk 3 or 4 miles every day, and you'll see me out walking, picking up trash. I was walking home today and picking up some trash, and Kim Courtney from KKB stopped and walked me the rest of the way home and took my trash off my hands. But thank you, Brad. I know your family as well has a place where you pick up trash, but I just pick trash up along my walk every day. I want to see Kennedale. So little things like that we can do, all of us together, to make Kennedale better. Each one of us, and every single thing you do every day is you can make Kennedale better, even if it's just picking up the trash in front of your house or your street. Um, I
Especially
love the
parks.
city. I love the city. I love the community. Yeah. What'd you say, Jeff?
Especially the parks.
Especially in the parks. Well, or when they throw those advertising brochures, that's still a nuisance for me. Those little advertising things that all over the street. I picked up several today, but it's a wonderful. Kennedale is a wonderful little town. It's so unique. It's just, surrounded by it's surrounded by Arlington and Mansfield and Fort Worth. And I used to drive to Dallas every day. Is where I used to work, and you can get to Dallas in 30 minutes on a non-traffic day, which doesn't happen very often. But anyway, we're unique. We're small, and that's what people love about Kennedale. Anyone that's here, that's what they love, and that's what they want to preserve. and that's where my heart is for them. I've never lived in a town where there's so many generational people that live here,
I agree.
and they're so proud of that. And I can see why. And there's other things, we want to continue to do that, is to preserve that weakness in everything that we preserve, that uniqueness, as we move forward in all the things that we do, whether it's development, whether it's our parks, whatever decision that we're making, is we're keeping that in mind as we go. And that's what I'll continue to keep in mind for the citizens of Kennedale, and balancing that with, the challenges that we've had from our past, and with where we want to go, and balancing that with, with the eye on not increasing our tax rate 100%. And that's the focus. So in closing, if you want to get in touch with me, my phone number, it's out there for everyone. You can call me 817-690-3821. I have a Facebook page, Mayor Jan Joplin Kennedale. Come join me, follow me. Usually I post whatever it is that I'm doing. I will post that so you can see and follow me in what I'm doing. And I would love to have you to join us. And why I said that about it's hard to get people involved is, so I'll just leave it as this. If you would like to get involved in anything that we're doing, please contact me, because it is difficult for people for us to have volunteers that want to help us, whether it's park board, Keep Kennedale Beautiful, our volunteers. We're going to have a trash pickup day at the park that's coming up within the next few weeks. Come join us, join me on the walks. Join us at the city council meeting. We meet once a month, the third Tuesday of the month. It's broadcast live. That's another thing that we brought to the table. So I was the first one to even live broadcast any meeting ever in the city council, ever. And actually was kind of got in trouble. Well, not trouble, but the city manager at the time didn't want me doing that. And now it's all transparent. All of our meetings are broadcast live, so anyone can watch it from the comfort of your own home. So if you're hearing this and you have any interest at all in joining us, come join us. We'd love to have you. And on any level, it really doesn't matter. You don't have to get it on board. Just come and volunteer with us. And thank you so much if you listen to this all the way through, thank you.
I love the shameless plug at the end. That's perfect. Yes. Get more people on these boards and committees. Well, I want to thank you both for joining the show. I mean, we'll be the first one. The next one that we'll be recording should be place 4. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm trying really, really hard, Kennedale, to get place 2, get scheduled and get recorded too. We'll get the information out for you. Don't forget to check us out on KennedaleNews.com. We'll be posting this video on YouTube, but sharing it every week. If you have any questions, just post below. Maybe the candidates will see them when we tag them and give you a better answers to questions. But for now, again, thank you both for joining us. And this is Jeff Avaris with Coffee Chat, and for the mayoral election of 2024.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.